The night was quiet in the small human village. The wind moved slowly across the fields, carrying the smell of earth and smoke from the little homes. The stars above were bright, and for a boy named Aaron, it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. He was only 10 years old, but every night he would sit outside his house, staring at the sky. He always wondered if someone was out there, beyond the stars, someone waiting to be found. His father told him to sleep early because dreams could wait until morning, but Aaron was different. His heart was curious, and his eyes searched the unknown, even when the world around him stayed ordinary. That night, something strange happened, something that would change his life forever. At first, it was only a flash of light, so small that Aaron thought it was a falling star. But then the light grew larger, brighter, and the ground began to tremble under his feet. A deep sound filled the air, a sound like thunder and metal breaking apart. The villagers came out of their homes, pointing to the sky. It was not a falling star. It was a ship, a great ship made of silver and fire, breaking into pieces as it tore through the clouds. Flames burned across its wings, and sparks rained down like angry fireflies. The ship was falling, faster and faster, and Aaron's heart pounded in his chest. Everyone screamed and ran back into their houses, afraid of the end of the world, but Aaron could not move. His feet carried him toward the forest, toward the place where the ship would fall. He did not know why. Maybe it was madness, maybe it was fate, but something deep inside pulled him to the crash. He ran past trees and stones, his breath sharp in the cold air, until at last the ground shook with a violent crash. A wall of fire rose before him, and smoke spread through the forest like a living shadow. Aaron covered his mouth with his hand and pushed forward. He knew it was dangerous. He knew he should run away like the others, but he could not. His young heart whispered that something important waited for him inside the wreckage. When he reached the clearing, his eyes grew wide. The ship lay broken in the dirt, its giant body burning with blue flames. Strange marks glowed across its surface, like runes from another world. The air was thick with the smell of iron and burning oil, and strange sparks crackled in the air, dancing around him like fire spirits. At first, Aaron thought the ship was empty. Then he heard it, a soft sound, almost like crying. He turned and saw her, a girl, lying against a broken piece of metal, her clothes torn, her silver hair shining like the moon. She looked no older than him, maybe 8 years old. Her eyes were golden, glowing faintly in the dark, and her face was both strange and beautiful, something not human but not frightening either. She was wounded, her arm bleeding, and yet when she looked at him, she did not seem afraid. Aaron froze, his heart beating fast. He wanted to speak, but his words failed him. The girl tilted her head, watching him curiously, as though she too could not understand why a boy from this world had come for her. Slowly, she stood, though her legs shook with weakness. Aaron stepped closer, forgetting fear. She reached out her hand, and for a moment, their small fingers touched. Her skin was warm, and in her eyes was something he would never forget, loneliness mixed with hope. She whispered something in a soft voice, words he did not know. Then, almost as if guided by instinct, she leaned forward and kissed him lightly on the cheek. Aaron's eyes went wide, but before he could react, she pulled back and spoke again, this time in broken human words. "I will return. One day, I promise." Her voice was weak, but the words carried weight, like they were tied to destiny itself. Before Aaron could ask her name, before he could understand who she truly was, a strange glow surrounded her. Her form flickered like a fading flame, and then she disappeared, leaving only silence and smoke behind. Aaron stood there, his cheek burning where she had kissed him, his mind filled with confusion and wonder. The wreckage of the ship still burned, but the girl was gone, as if the earth had swallowed her. When Aaron finally returned to the village, no one believed him. The elders said he had imagined it, that the crash was only falling debris from the sky. The wreckage had vanished by the time they searched, leaving no proof of what he saw. The villagers shook their heads and told him to forget the nonsense. But Aaron knew the truth. He had met her, a girl not of this world, a princess of dragons who had touched his life in a way no one could understand. From that day on, Aaron carried the memory of that night deep inside him. He would sit by the fields, staring at the stars, waiting for her return. The promise of the dragon princess became his secret treasure, something he never told again to anyone. They might laugh, they might call him a dreamer, but he did not care. She had promised, and Aaron's heart believed. Years would pass, and people would forget about the fire that once fell from the sky. But Aaron did not forget. He held on to the memory of silver hair, golden eyes, and a kiss by the fallen ship. He was only a boy then, but in that moment, fate had written his path. One day the stars would fall again, and when they did, she would return. And so, the story of Aaron and the Dragon Princess began with fire, silence, and a promise that would take 10 years to fulfill. The years moved slowly for Aaron, but the memory of that night never left him. He was only 10 when the stars fell, only a boy when he met the strange girl by the burning ship. Now, 10 years later, he was no longer a child. His body had grown stronger, his hands skilled from endless hours of working with machines. The boy had become a young man, a mechanic who could repair anything, from broken tools to damaged ships that sometimes wandered close to the village. Yet, despite the change in his life, one thing had not changed: the promise. Every night, when the world was quiet, Aaron would walk to the same field where he first saw the falling star. He would sit on the grass, staring at the endless sky. He remembered her silver hair, her glowing golden eyes, the warmth of her hand against his. Most of all, he remembered her words. "I will return. One day, I promise." Those words lived inside him like a fire that never went out. He told no one, not even his closest friends. To them, he was simply a dreamer who wasted his time staring at the sky. They laughed, saying he waited for ghosts. But Aaron did not mind. He knew what he had seen. He knew she was real. The village itself had changed. New houses had been built. Children who once played with him had grown into farmers, traders, and soldiers. Yet Aaron always felt different, as if he did not belong completely to this world. He worked hard as a mechanic, repairing the machines that arrived from traders passing through. People respected his skill, but still whispered about his strange obsession with the stars. Even his parents tried to convince him to move on, to forget the fantasy of a girl who had never existed. But Aaron's heart refused. He felt her promise was not just words, it was destiny. One night, as Aaron worked late inside his small workshop, the ground shook with a strange tremor. Tools fell from the shelves, and the oil lamp on his desk flickered. Aaron rushed outside, his heart racing. In the distance, across the dark hills, a glow spread across the sky. It was not fire from the earth. It was light from above. For the first time in 10 years, the heavens seemed alive again. He could hear faint echoes in the wind, like thunder rolling from beyond the horizon. His breath caught in his throat. Was it her? Had she finally returned? But as quickly as the light appeared, it vanished, leaving only the cold silence of night. The villagers spoke about it the next morning, saying it was only strange weather or the reflection of lightning. They did not believe in miracles. But Aaron knew better. His heart told him the moment was close. Something was moving beyond the stars, something that would soon change everything. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Aaron worked harder than before, but his mind was restless. Sometimes, late at night, he would take apart machines just to keep his hands busy. He was no longer a boy, but he still carried the same fire of curiosity within him. When he looked into the mirror, he saw a young man with strong shoulders and sharp eyes. Yet in those eyes burned the same hope of a child waiting for a promise to be fulfilled. Then one evening, as he returned from repairing a trader's broken vehicle, Aaron heard whispers among the villagers. People spoke of strangers seen at the edge of the forest, tall figures with cloaks and glowing weapons. They said the strangers were searching for something or someone. Fear spread through the village, for no one knew where these figures had come from. Aaron listened carefully, his heart uneasy. Could it be connected to her? The next night, Aaron once again sat under the stars, the same way he had done for 10 years. The air was colder than usual, and the sky was covered in clouds. For a while, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the wind grew strong, bending the trees around him. The clouds broke apart, and a streak of light shot across the sky. It was not the falling fire of 10 years ago. This light was controlled, deliberate, as if it were searching for something. Aaron's chest tightened. His eyes followed the light until it vanished beyond the hills, near the old crash site where he had first met her. Without hesitation, he grabbed his tools and hurried toward the place, his feet pounding against the earth. He knew it. He felt it. She was here. The promise was about to be fulfilled. When he reached the clearing, his breath caught in his throat. The ground glowed faintly, and the air shimmered as if alive with unseen energy. First, there was nothing. Then a figure stepped out from the shadows. She was taller now, no longer the small girl he remembered. Her silver hair flowed like moonlight, and her golden eyes shone even brighter than before. She wore strange armor that glowed faintly with runes, and her presence carried power and grace. Aaron stood frozen, unable to move, his mind filled with disbelief and wonder. It was her. After 10 long years, the dragon princess had returned. She looked at him, and for a moment the world seemed to stop. The forest was silent, the night frozen in stillness, as if all of creation waited for her next words. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, and she spoke softly. "I told you I would return." Aaron's heart pounded. 1,000 questions filled his mind, but before he could speak, she raised her hand. Her eyes turned serious, filled with something heavier than joy. "But I did not only come back for you," she whispered. "I carry a burden, and danger follows me. They are coming." The words sent a shiver down Aaron's spine. He remembered the whispers of strangers in the forest, the glowing weapons, the tremors in the earth. Suddenly, he understood. She had returned, yes, but not alone. And the fate of not just him, but the entire world, was about to change. For a long moment, Aaron simply stared at her, unable to believe his own eyes. 10 years had passed, yet it felt as if time had folded in on itself, bringing back the silver-haired girl he had once seen in the burning wreckage. But she was no longer a child. She stood tall and graceful, her presence carrying the weight of royalty and power. The golden light in her eyes burned brighter than fire, and the strange armor she wore shimmered faintly, carved with symbols that seemed alive. She was the same, yet different, a memory reborn into reality. His voice trembled when he finally spoke. "It's you. It's really you." Her gaze softened, and for a moment, he could see the same girl from long ago, the girl who had kissed his cheek and whispered a promise. She stepped closer, her boots making no sound against the grass, and when she spoke, her words were calm yet heavy with meaning. "I told you I would return, and here I am." Aaron's heart raced. He had waited for this moment every single day for 10 years. But before joy could completely fill him, he noticed something in her eyes, something darker. She was not here simply to fulfill a childhood promise. She carried a weight, a shadow that followed her across the stars. "What happened to you?" Aaron asked, his voice low, almost afraid of the answer. The princess tilted her head slightly, her silver hair falling across her shoulders. "Much has happened, Aaron. My world, my people, they are not safe anymore. I escaped, but they followed me here." She looked around, her golden eyes sharp, scanning the forest as though danger could appear at any second. "Even now they hunt me, and they will not stop until they find me." Aaron felt a chill crawl up his spine. He thought of the whispers he had heard in the village, of strangers seen with glowing weapons. His chest tightened with realization. "The ones in the forest, they're searching for you." She gave a small nod. "Yes, they are not of my kind. They are destroyers. They seek what I carry." Her hand moved slowly to her chest, where a faint glow pulsed beneath her armor. "The dragon crystal. It is the heart of my people, the source of our power. If they take it, both our worlds will burn." For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the whisper of wind through the trees. Aaron stared at her, his mind struggling to understand the scale of her words. He had expected her return to be a miracle, a dream come true. Instead, she had come carrying danger, a danger greater than anything his world had ever faced. And yet, despite the fear curling inside him, Aaron felt something stronger rise within his chest. 10 years ago, when she was weak and afraid, she had trusted him. Now, when the world itself seemed to tremble under her secret, she had returned to him again. Perhaps it was madness, perhaps it was fate, but he could not let her stand alone. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, his voice steady. The princess studied him carefully, as though weighing the boy she had once met against the man he had become. Then she spoke, her words carrying both command and hope. "I need your help. You know this land, these people. You have the skill of machines. Alone I cannot survive here. But with you, perhaps I can." Aaron nodded without hesitation. Fear still pressed against him, but his heart refused to step back. He had waited 10 years for her. If this was the reason destiny had tied them together, then he would not run. Suddenly the air shifted. A faint hum, low and sharp, echoed through the night. The princess froze, her eyes narrowing. "They are here," she whispered. Aaron turned, his blood running cold. Between the trees, shadows moved. Strange figures emerged, tall and covered in black armor, their weapons glowing with a sickly red light. Their movements were silent, precise, like hunters closing in on prey. Aaron's breath caught. He had never seen beings like this before, but he knew instantly that they were not human. The princess stepped in front of him, her armor glowing faintly as if awakened by the presence of enemies. Her voice was calm, but her eyes blazed with fire. "Stay behind me." Aaron's heart pounded. He wanted to protest, to tell her that he would not hide, but the sight of the armored figures silenced him. They were too many, too dangerous. He could only watch as they slowly surrounded the clearing, their red weapons humming in the dark. One of the figures stepped forward, his voice mechanical and cold. "Hand over the crystal, princess. Do this and your death will be swift. Refuse, and we will take it from your broken body." The princess raised her chin, her golden eyes unyielding. "You will never have it. As long as I breathe, the crystal stays with me." The air crackled with tension. The hunters raised their weapons, red light cutting across the clearing. Aaron clenched his fists, feeling helpless, but then something strange happened. The princess closed her eyes, and her body began to glow with silver fire. The runes on her armor lit up, and her presence grew larger, stronger, almost unbearable to look at. When she opened her eyes again, they blazed like suns. In a voice that shook the very air, she spoke. "If you want the crystal, come and take it." What followed was chaos. The hunters charged, their weapons screaming with energy, but the princess moved with the speed of lightning. Silver flames burst from her hands, striking down 2 of them before they could even fire. She leapt into the air, her body glowing brighter, and slammed into another, sending him crashing against the trees. The ground shook with every movement, the forest alive with the sound of battle. Aaron stumbled back, his eyes wide with awe and terror. He had seen machines break, he had seen fire burn, but he had never seen anything like this. The girl he once knew, the child who had kissed his cheek, was now a warrior, a force of power that even the stars seemed to obey. But the hunters were relentless. For every one she struck down, more appeared, their weapons blazing red against her silver light. Aaron's chest tightened. She was strong, but could she fight them all? He felt his hands tremble as he reached for his tools, his mind racing. He was no fighter, no warrior, but he was a mechanic, and mechanics always found a way. His eyes darted to the wreckage of an old trader's machine lying near the clearing, abandoned months ago. He ran toward it, his heart pounding, and began tearing at the wires and gears with frantic hands. If he could make it work, even for a few seconds, maybe he could help her. The princess fought on, her flames burning bright against the darkness. But Aaron could see her slowing, her breath heavy, her armor cracked. She could not fight forever. And as the hunters closed in tighter, Their leader stepped forward again, his voice cold and certain. "You cannot win, princess. Hand it over or watch your human die." Eren froze. The hunter's red weapon was aimed directly at him. The princess turned sharply, her golden eyes wide, and in that moment Eren saw fear. Not for herself, but for him. And then, just as the red light charged with deadly energy, Eren's hands connected the final wire. The machine roared to life, spitting sparks and smoke. With a shout, he drove it forward, the old engine screaming as it rammed into the line of hunters. The impact sent them crashing aside, their weapons scattering. For a moment, the tide turned. The princess moved like lightning, cutting through the broken line of enemies, her flames brighter than ever. She reached Eren's side, her eyes fierce but filled with something deeper, gratitude. "You are braver than I thought," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Eren, gasping for breath, managed a weak smile. "I told you, I've been waiting." Together, they stood against the darkness, two souls bound by a promise, facing enemies greater than themselves. And though the night was filled with fire and danger, Eren knew one thing with absolute certainty. Fate had finally brought them together again. But deep inside, he also knew the battle had only begun. The night was heavy with smoke and fire. The forest clearing burned with the light of silver flames and broken machines. The ground scattered with the wreckage of battle. The hunters lay defeated around them, their black armor cracked, their red weapons shattered. For the first time since their arrival, silence returned to the night. Eren stood breathless, his chest heaving, his hands still shaking from the machine he had forced back to life. He had never felt fear like this, but he had never felt courage either. The princess stood tall beside him, her silver hair shining under the moon, her golden eyes still glowing faintly with the remnants of her power. She looked fierce, yet there was exhaustion in her breathing. The glow of her armor flickered, the runes pulsing weakly as though drained by the fight. Eren swallowed hard. "Are they gone?" The princess shook her head slowly. "No, these were only scouts. More will come, stronger, faster. I can fight them, but not forever." Her hand moved to her chest, pressing against the faint glow that pulsed beneath her armor. For the first time, Eren noticed the way it shone like a living heart. "And if they take this, it will all be over." Eren's brow furrowed, his voice low. "What is it? What are they after?" She looked at him for a long moment, as though deciding whether to trust him with the truth. Then, in a voice soft but unshaken, she spoke. "The dragon crystal. It is the soul of my people, the core of our strength. Every dragon, every city, every starship, they all live because of its energy. Without it, my world will fall into silence. With it, those hunters can destroy not only my kind, but yours as well. They could burn every planet they touch." Eren felt his stomach twist. He had repaired countless machines, heard stories of power sources and ancient artifacts, but never anything like this. Something that could keep entire worlds alive, something that could destroy them just as easily. And it was here, hidden in the heart of a girl who had once been only a child in need of help. "Why me?" Eren asked, his voice trembling. "Why did you come back here? Why me of all people?" The princess's eyes softened, the glow in them less fierce now, more human. "Because when I was weak, you came to me. You were only a boy, but you did not run away. You gave me kindness when I had nothing. And because of that, the crystal responded. It chose you as well." Eren blinked, stunned. "Chose me?" She nodded slowly. "The crystal does not only bind to blood. It binds to spirit. That night, when I kissed you, I was not only thanking you, I was sharing the bond. You carry its light now, even if you do not see it. That is why I came back. That is why they will come for you too." Eren's chest tightened. The words felt impossible, yet deep down, something in him understood. He had always felt different from the others, always felt as if something greater was waiting for him. Now, the truth stood before him, glowing like fire beneath her armor. He was bound to her, bound to the crystal, and there was no turning back. Before he could speak again, the wind shifted. A sharp hum cut through the silence, and the princess stiffened. They are coming. Erin's eyes widened. Already? She nodded. They never stop. Once they lock onto the crystal's energy, they will chase us across any world, across any sky. We must move. Now. She grabbed his hand, and before Erin could protest, she pulled him into the forest. They ran together through the darkness, the sound of broken branches cracking beneath their feet. The night air was cold, but Erin barely noticed. His mind raced with fear, but also with something stronger, determination. He did not know how to fight like her, did not have her flames or her strength, but he knew machines, and he knew he could not abandon her now. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Strange lights flashed in the distance, weaving between the trees like red eyes. The hunters had found them again. Their voices echoed, mechanical and cruel. Princess, Crystal, human, you cannot run. Erin's heart pounded, his breath ragged. But the princess kept moving, her grip strong, unyielding. At last, they broke through the forest and into the open fields near the old hills. The moonlight shone bright, revealing the long grass and broken stones that stretched toward the horizon. The princess stopped for a moment, her golden eyes scanning the land. We must reach the mountains, she said quickly. There are caves there, old places hidden even from the skies. If we can reach them, we may rest. For now. Erin nodded, though exhaustion pulled at his body. He wanted to collapse, but the sight of her determination kept him moving. They ran again, the tall grass whipping against their legs, their shadows long under the moon. Behind them, the hunters closed in, their weapons glowing, their machines flying low with sharp metallic wings. A beam of red light shot past them, burning the grass to ash. Erin stumbled but pushed forward, his lungs screaming for air. Another beam struck nearby, exploding the ground into dust and fire. The hunters were not simply chasing anymore, they were hunting to kill. The princess suddenly stopped and turned, her eyes blazing with fire. She raised her hand, silver flames bursting into the sky, striking the nearest machine and sending it crashing into the ground. But as she fought, Erin saw the strain in her face, the flicker of pain in her golden eyes. The crystal gave her power, but it also drained her. She could not keep fighting forever. Go! She shouted at him. Run! Erin shook his head, his voice breaking. I'm not leaving you. For a brief second, their eyes met. In hers, Erin saw something beyond duty, beyond strength. He saw fear, not for herself but for him. She had returned to keep her promise, but now she risked losing everything again. Another blast of red light cut through the field, and the princess fell to one knee, her armor cracked, the glow beneath it flickering weakly. Erin's heart seized with panic. Without thinking, he rushed to her side, pulling her up with all his strength. We have to move. Together. She leaned against him, her breath heavy, but she nodded. They stumbled forward, each step heavier than the last, the hunters' voices echoing closer and closer. Erin could see the dark outline of the mountains in the distance, but it felt impossibly far. Just when it seemed the hunters would overtake them, a sudden roar filled the air. Erin looked up, his eyes widening as a trader's old ship, one he had repaired months ago, came crashing through the clouds, its lights blazing. The pilot, a man Erin had once helped, shouted from above. Get in. Now. Erin's heart leapt with hope. He pulled the princess toward the ship as it landed roughly in the field, its engines screaming. They climbed aboard, the hunters firing beams of red light behind them. The ship's doors slammed shut, and with a surge of power, it lifted into the sky, racing toward the mountains. Inside, Erin collapsed against the wall, his chest heaving. The princess sat beside him, her golden eyes dim but still alive. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered, The chase has begun, and it will not end until either they fall, or we do. Erin's hands clenched into fists. Fear still filled him, but beneath it was a growing fire, a strength he did not know he had. He met her gaze, his voice firm. Then we'll make sure it's them, not us. The princess gave the faintest smile, her silver hair falling across her face. You truly have changed, but your heart is the same. That is why the crystal chose you. The ship soared through the night, the hunters close behind, their red weapons glowing like blood across the sky. The chase had only begun, but Aaron knew one thing with certainty. He was no longer waiting for destiny. He was running straight into it. The old trader's ship groaned as it tore through the night sky, its engines screaming from the weight of the chase. Aaron sat against the metal wall, still breathless, his hands trembling from everything that had happened. Across from him, the princess sat with her eyes half closed, her silver hair glowing faintly under the dim lights. The glow beneath her armor flickered weakly, as though the crystal inside her was struggling to keep up with her power. Aaron watched her carefully, his chest heavy with worry. Outside, red beams of light cut across the sky. The hunters were still chasing them, their black ships sleek and sharp, moving like predators in the dark. The old trader at the controls cursed loudly, his hands flying over the broken levers. "This ship isn't made for this," he shouted. "If they keep firing, we won't last long." Aaron forced himself to stand. His body ached, his lungs burned, but his mind refused to surrender. He walked to the cockpit, staring at the flashing controls, his mechanic's instincts already working. "Keep it steady," he said quickly. "I'll hold the engines together." The trader looked at him with disbelief. "You're mad." Aaron gave a small, sharp smile. "Maybe, but I know machines better than anyone. Just fly." He rushed to the back of the ship, tools already in his hands. The princess turned her golden eyes to him, her voice soft but urgent. "Aaron, if they destroy this ship, you must escape. Don't stay for me." He froze, then turned to her, his eyes fierce. "No, don't ever say that again. I waited 10 years for you. I won't let them take you now." For a moment, she looked at him in silence. Then, slowly, she smiled, the smallest, saddest smile he had ever seen. "Then I will fight harder. For you." Before Aaron could answer, the ship jolted violently as a beam struck its side. Metal screamed, sparks burst into the air, and the trader shouted in panic. "They're boarding us." The sound of claws tearing through steel echoed through the hull. Aaron's breath caught. The hunters were not just firing from the sky now, they were coming inside. The princess rose to her feet, her silver flames igniting faintly around her body. She looked at Aaron, her golden eyes burning. "Stay close to me." The ship's walls tore open, and the hunters poured inside, their black armor gleaming under the firelight, their weapons glowing red with deadly energy. Aaron's heart pounded as he grabbed a wrench from the floor. It was all he had. The princess, however, moved like lightning. Silver fire exploded from her hands, striking the first hunter and sending him crashing against the wall. The battle inside the ship was chaos. Hunters fired beams of red light, tearing holes through the walls, while the princess deflected them with blazing shields of silver flame. Aaron swung his wrench at one who came too close, the impact rattling his bones, but he did not stop. The sound of metal against armor rang through the ship as he fought with everything he had. Yet for every hunter they pushed back, more arrived. Aaron felt sweat pour down his face, his arms aching, his chest burning with every breath. The princess fought with strength beyond anything he had ever seen, her silver fire carving through the darkness, but he could see her weakening. The glow of the crystal inside her dimmed with each strike, each shield. The leader of the hunters stepped into the ruined ship, taller than the rest, his black armor etched with crimson marks. His voice was cold and cruel. "You cannot win, princess. The crystal belongs to us. Hand it over, and your suffering will end." The princess stood tall despite her exhaustion, her golden eyes blazing. "It will never belong to you." The hunter raised his weapon, a blade of red energy crackling with power. "Then both of you will die here." Aaron's chest tightened with fear, but also anger. He could not let it end like this. His eyes darted across the ship, searching for anything. Any machine, any wire, any power source. Then he saw it. The damaged core of the ship's engine, glowing faintly with unstable energy. It was dangerous, maybe even deadly. But it was also their only chance. He ran to it, ignoring the shouts of the hunters, and began pulling wires, twisting gears with frantic speed. Sparks burned his skin, the smell of smoke filling his nose, but he did not stop. "Just a little more," he muttered, his hands shaking. The princess glanced at him, her eyes widening with realization. "Aaron, no!" But it was too late. With a final twist, the engine core roared to life, glowing brighter than the sun. A wave of energy burst outward, slamming into the hunters and sending them flying against the walls. The leader staggered, his blade flickering, his armor cracking. For a brief moment, the tide had turned. But the engine core was unstable. The ship shook violently, alarms screaming as smoke filled the air. Aaron stumbled, coughing, but kept his hands on the wires, holding the power steady. "Go!" he shouted at the princess. "Finish this!" Her eyes locked onto his, filled with fire and fear, but also trust. She turned back to the hunters, her body blazing with silver flames brighter than ever before. She leapt forward, striking the leader with all her strength. Their powers collided, red against silver, the air burning with heat and light. The ship trembled under the force, the walls cracking, the engines screaming. Aaron's vision blurred from the smoke, his body trembling from the heat, but he refused to let go of the core. He could hear their voices, the clash of power, the roar of fire and steel. And then, with a final cry, the princess struck the leader down, her flames piercing through his armor. The red blade shattered, and the hunter fell, his voice fading into silence. The remaining hunters froze, their weapons dimming, their courage broken. Without their leader, they retreated, vanishing into the night sky. The ship shook one last time, then fell into silence. Aaron collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. The engine core dimmed, flickering weakly, but the ship held together. Slowly, he looked up. The princess stood above him, her silver flames fading, her golden eyes soft. She was wounded, her armor cracked, but she was alive. She knelt beside him, her hand gentle against his face. "You're a fool," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But you are my fool." Aaron gave a weak laugh, his chest aching. "I told you, I'm not leaving you." For a moment, silence filled the ship. The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. The princess leaned close, her golden eyes filled with both sorrow and strength. "This was only one fight. Greater dangers are coming. The crystal's power will call more enemies, and they will not stop. But," she paused, her voice softening, "I will keep my promise. I will fight by your side. Always." Aaron felt the warmth of her words fill his chest, stronger than the pain, stronger than the fear. He looked at her, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "Then let them come. As long as you're with me, I won't stop." The ship drifted silently through the night sky, its walls broken but its spirit unshaken. Inside, a young mechanic and a dragon princess sat together, bound by fire, by promise, and by destiny. The battle was won, but the promise was only just beginning. The battle inside the trader's ship had ended, but the silence afterward felt heavy, almost unreal. The broken walls still smoked, the air still carried the sharp smell of burned metal, and the stars outside glowed faintly, as if they themselves had watched the struggle. Aaron sat against the wall, his chest rising and falling in deep, ragged breaths. Across from him, the princess leaned against a cracked panel, her silver hair spread across her shoulders, her golden eyes dim but steady. For a while, neither spoke. The silence between them was not empty, but full of everything they had endured, everything they had fought for, and everything they had not yet said. Aaron's hands were cut and bruised, blackened from sparks and smoke, but he still reached for her. She hesitated for a moment, then took his hand in hers, her fingers warm despite the exhaustion that weighed her down. "I almost lost you," she whispered softly, her voice trembling with something deeper than pain. Aaron smiled faintly, though his face was pale. "No, you never lost me. I've been waiting for you since that night." Her eyes softened, golden light flickering like a candle in the dark. And I have carried you in my memory every day. Your face, your voice. It gave me strength when I thought I had none left. That is why I came back. Not only because of the crystal, but because of you. Aaron's heart tightened at her words. For 10 years he had lived with only the memory of her promise, unsure if it was hope or madness. And now, sitting here, he realized it had all been real. She had remembered him. She had come back. The traitor interrupted their quiet moment, slamming his fist against the controls. We can't stay here, he growled. That fight drew attention. If those hunters return with more ships, we're finished. Where do you want to go? The princess straightened slowly, her armor cracked but still glowing faintly. There is only one place, she said firmly. The ruins of the old dragon temple. It was where the crystal was first bound. If we go there, I may find answers and strength. Aaron frowned. Temple? You mean your home? She shook her head, a shadow passing across her face. Not my home. A grave. The place where my people made their last stand before they fell. If the crystal is to be saved, it will be there. The traitor grumbled under his breath but adjusted the ship's course. The engines groaned, sparks flying from broken panels, but the vessel obeyed. Slowly, the stars shifted around them as the ship cut through the endless dark. The journey was long, and both Aaron and the princess drifted into silence. But within Aaron's chest, thoughts roared louder than the engines. He kept glancing at her, memorizing every detail, as though afraid she might vanish again. She caught him staring once and gave him a faint smile. What are you thinking? She asked softly. Aaron hesitated, then said, that I don't care where this road goes, as long as I walk it with you. Her golden eyes glistened, and for the first time, she did not hide the emotion in her voice. Then we will walk it together. When the ship finally descended, Aaron's breath caught in wonder. The ruins of the dragon temple stood like bones of giants, half buried in stone and shadow. Tall pillars carved with ancient symbols rose into the sky, cracked and broken, yet still powerful. The air shimmered faintly with silver light, as though the land itself remembered what had once lived here. The princess walked slowly, her hand brushing the ruined walls, her face heavy with memories. Aaron followed close, his heart beating hard. He could feel something here, an energy, ancient and alive, pulsing beneath his feet. At the center of the ruins stood a broken altar, cracked by time but still glowing faintly with silver fire. The princess knelt before it, her hands pressed against the stone. Her golden eyes closed, and her voice was soft, almost a prayer. I have returned. I have carried the crystal. I have kept the promise. The altar responded, light bursting from its cracks, filling the ruins with a silver glow. Aaron shielded his eyes, but the princess stood firm, her body trembling as the crystal inside her pulsed with the altar's power. For a moment, her voice was not just hers but carried the echo of countless voices, her people, long gone, speaking through her. Aaron's chest tightened as he watched. He realized this was not just about her return. It was about destiny. She was not only a girl he had once met. She was the last of her kind, the keeper of a legacy too vast for one person to bear. The light dimmed slowly, leaving the ruins quiet once more. The princess turned to him, her face pale but her eyes shining brighter than ever. It is done, she said softly. The crystal is bound again, but the war has only begun. More will come, stronger than before. Aaron stepped closer, placing his hand against hers. Then let them come. I'll fight with you, no matter what. For the first time, she let her guard fall completely. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his, her golden eyes closing. Then our promise is complete, she whispered. When I was 8, I kissed you to seal it. Now, fate has brought us together, and nothing will break it again. The night wind blew through the ruins, carrying the sound of distant storms, of battles yet to come. But in that moment, there was no fear. There was only the boy who had waited and the girl who had returned. 2 lives bound by destiny, by promise, and by love stronger than the stars. The stars above them seemed to shine brighter, as though the universe itself recognized what had been fulfilled. Their story was not ending. It was only beginning.